Don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to stay updated with our latest stories. I never thought a single phone call could spiral my life into a chain of choices I wasn't prepared to face, but here I am, sitting alone in our living room, replaying that voice message in my head. My name is Iris, and until 3 days ago, I believed I'd left all my regrets somewhere behind me, overshadowed by the comfort of a 28-year marriage. Yet somehow, the past found its way back, and now I can't stop wondering how many other lies I've been telling myself. It started on a Friday evening. My husband, Paul, had already gone to bed. He works early mornings at a logistics company, so he's always asleep before 10. I was winding down on the couch, half watching a talk show, half browsing my phone, when a strange call lit up the screen. I didn't recognize the number, and part of me wanted to ignore it. But something, maybe boredom, maybe curiosity, made me answer. Iris, came the voice, husky and immediately familiar. I froze, breath hitching, because it belonged to someone I hadn't heard from in decades. Ethan, the man I thought I'd spend my life with before everything fell apart in my 20s. Yet here he was, speaking my name like no time had passed, telling me he was in town just for a weekend and wanted to say hello. He kept his words brief, like he was testing the waters. If you want to see me, I'll be at the Riverside Cafe tomorrow night at 7. My heart hammered as the call ended. At first, I convinced myself I wouldn't go. I have a whole life now, a routine, a stable marriage. But that night, I barely slept, haunted by old memories I tried so hard to bury. He and I were inseparable once, until tragedy struck his family and he disappeared to a different state, leaving me with a handful of letters and a broken heart. Even now, I could feel the echo of that heartbreak, mixing with an odd flicker of excitement that made me feel guilty just for existing. The next day, Paul headed off to work, oblivious to the whirlwind in my mind. I tried to keep busy, but every few minutes, I'd catch myself staring at the clock. I told myself I was too old for romantic fantasies, too settled to risk my marriage for a hello from a ghost of my past. Yet by 6:30, I found myself slipping on my coat and driving to the Riverside Cafe, my stomach twisted in knots. When I arrived, the cafe was softly lit with warm, golden lights. The hostess guided me to a small booth near the window, and there he was. I recognized him instantly, though time had painted silver in his hair and lines around his dark eyes. He stood as I approached, offering a tentative smile, like he wasn't entirely sure I'd show. For a moment, neither of us spoke, the air charged with years of unspoken words. We caught up in fits and starts, exchanging bullet points of our separate lives. His moves from state to state, my stable job at a dental office, the children I never had, the grandchildren he adored. I wanted to keep it light, pretend we were just old friends. But he kept looking at me like there was more to say, and I could feel the old ache surfacing, the question that never died. Why did we never find our way back? I told him I was married, of course. He nodded, a shadow crossing his face. I just wanted to see you again, he said quietly. Not to destroy what you have. Yet the way he looked at me suggested something deeper. Maybe an apology for leaving so abruptly, or a wish to know if we could reclaim some small piece of what we lost. I stayed for an hour, 2 hours, then realized it was almost 9. Paul would be home soon, expecting me there. My heart pounded as I left the cafe. Ethan asked gently if we could meet again. My mind screamed no, but my lips mumbled something about needing time. That night I lied to Paul, telling him I went shopping. He never questioned it, just asked how my day was and drifted off to bed. I lay awake, replaying Ethan's voice, remembering how I once thought he was my future. The next morning everything felt different. My life, my house, my routines, my marriage, suddenly looked unfamiliar, as if I were examining them from the outside. Paul went about his usual tasks, asking if I'd like to visit his parents that weekend, planning our groceries, all the things that formed our ordinary life. I heard him, but I felt distant, half of me longing for the security we built, half of me aching to answer Ethan's unspoken question. Did we give up on something real all those years ago? Then, I spotted a note on the counter, in Paul's handwriting. It was a reminder about his upcoming conference. He'd be gone for a night next week. In the margin, he scribbled a small heart and a short message. "Love you, see you tonight." My chest clenched. Paul was always thoughtful in these small ways, but it had been ages since I truly registered it. A wave of guilt hit me. Did I really have the right to entertain someone from my past? Yet guilt didn't stop my mind from drifting back to Ethan. I even found myself checking my phone more often, half hoping he'd call again, half relieved he didn't. Days passed, and I tried to bury the memory, telling myself it was just a nostalgic glitch. But exactly a week later, his name popped up on my phone again. I hesitated, then answered, my voice shaking. He asked if I could spare time for a short walk along the old river path we used to frequent. "I just want closure," he said, and part of me believed him. This time I decided not to lie to Paul. With trembling words, I told him an old friend had reached out, that I wanted to see him for a walk. Paul's brow furrowed, his eyes searching mine. "Is everything okay?" he asked, worry creeping into his tone. I couldn't meet his gaze. "I'm not sure," I whispered, fighting tears. Paul's expression shifted, hurt, confusion. He didn't ask more, and I didn't offer. But I saw the flicker of unease in his eyes, and I wondered if our marriage could survive the truth if he knew who Ethan really was. The walk along the river felt surreal. The water shimmered, autumn leaves drifting lazily. Ethan told me about the regrets he'd carried all these years, the letter he never sent, the road trip he should have invited me on, the choices that had led him away. And the question I couldn't answer. What if I'd stayed? I wanted to cry, maybe scream at him for disrupting my carefully ordered life. But I also felt something stir inside me. An old spark, a memory of the girl who once believed in endless possibilities. As we parted ways, he gently squeezed my hand. "You deserve happiness," he said, voice thick. "True happiness." I realized, with a jolt, that I wasn't sure if I was truly happy anymore. I went home, stared at the well-worn furniture in our living room, the pictures from vacations that felt so routine, the notes from Paul that once warmed my heart but now read like autopilot affection. At 48, I thought my life was stable, unshakable. But now, at 58 or 63, or however many years we each have left, maybe I was discovering that stability can also mean stagnation if we're not careful. Paul saw the turmoil in my eyes. That night before he went to bed, he asked softly, "Do you still love me? Or is your heart somewhere else?" My breath caught, tears stinging. I told him the truth as best I understood it. I wasn't leaving him for Ethan, but I couldn't deny the old feelings Ethan stirred. Feelings that made me question whether we'd been coasting. Paul looked devastated, but also oddly relieved. To hear me speak so candidly. "If we're coasting, let's figure it out," he said, voice unsteady. "Don't run away from us." That was the moment I realized that what Ethan had awakened wasn't necessarily about him. It was about me, about how I'd drifted into a half-lived life and never admitted it. Over the next few days, Paul and I talked more than we had in years. I confessed I felt invisible, that we'd let romance fade into routine. He confessed he sensed my discontent but feared bringing it up. We were both scared, both lonely in our own marriage. Ethan called a final time, asking if we could meet once more before he left the city. My heart twisted, but I told him the truth. I needed to invest in my marriage and see if Paul and I could rekindle what we'd lost. Ethan sounded pained but respected my choice. I hung up, feeling a mixture of regret and relief. In the days and weeks that followed, Paul and I began the uncomfortable work of asking, are we still growing together, or have we stopped trying? We started planning small trips, cooking new recipes, even bickering with more honesty. I felt alive in ways I'd forgotten, even if it meant facing truths we'd both avoided for years. It's not a perfect happy ending. Some nights, I still ache for the what-ifs with Ethan. But I also see hope in Paul's eyes when he notices I'm painting again, or when he suggests we drive somewhere spontaneous on a Sunday. We're rediscovering the best in each other, remembering that love doesn't have to die of old age. It just needs air, sunlight, and attention. So if you're watching this, wondering whether something's missing in your life, take it from me. Don't wait for a ghost from your past to remind you how to feel. Face it now, ask yourself the hard questions. Talk to your partner if you have one, or dig into your own buried dreams if you're on your own. You might be surprised how much beauty still lies dormant, waiting for you to choose it. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please like this video, share your insights in the comments, and subscribe for more real-life stories. Sometimes one chance encounter is all it takes to wake us up, if we're brave enough to open our eyes.